So we just spent the weekend at PAX Unplugged, and I came here in order to be able to talk to some of the biggest tabletop gaming companies about how 3D printing is affecting them, affecting their business, and where they think the future of 3D printing is going to be going. I'm leaving, though, with a different story, and the real story that I'm leaving with is how 3D printing is disrupting the industry. It's changing the way people make board games. It's real. But the real reason I came to Philadelphia, though, wasn't for PAX. It was this. While I was attending PAX, I wanted to cover more than what I already show on my channel. I really wanted to see how 3D printing was impacting tabletop gaming, both in a positive and a negative light. I decided to explore a few questions. How is 3D printing being used right now? Is 3D printing a good thing for tabletop gaming? And is it killing the hobby like I hear sometimes on the channel? I started with the large game and miniature making company, WizKids, to ask how 3D printing has impacted the way they make games and minis.
We actually, in the office, just recently got a 3D printer. And by recently, I mean maybe like 6 months ago, something along that way, so it's still fairly new. We've been using that a lot for not so much the miniatures that we, like our pre-painted stuff, but even for like some of our newer games, like Heroes of Dominaria or Fury of Dracula. We know that we're gonna have minis in that, so we will 3D print them in the office, so this way we can see what they look like, rather than having to wait for certain like prototypes or whatever to come in from the factory. So it's helped a lot.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Even with the larger, more established studios, 3D printing has often become part of their workflow. But selling products for a new, emerging market, home 3D printers, can often take a while. Here's why.
Known for HeroClix, Dice Masters, the upcoming miniatures, board games, all kinds of great stuff. So
when you're working on multiple games while simultaneously supporting your old ones, I get why it can be difficult to go after a new emerging market like home 3D printers, especially when there's a risk of disrupting your supply chain by throwing in your own manufacturing through something like home 3D printing. I asked Chris whether he thought printing would take our hobby in a good direction overall or not.
I think it's going to have a positive effect, because it's like everybody wants their own unique character to just show up on their board. So it's like, no matter how many times we make the same race, class combinations or whatever, you're always going to have somebody that comes with somebody different. Like I had somebody earlier today asking me if I had I think it was a half-elf warlock with short hair. And I'm like, I don't know about the short hair part, but that's something 3D printing could easily fix. You go in there, you make it, and now you have it.
Smaller startups, however, can usually afford to be more nimble. As a result, several have already jumped in to fill this gap. This is Joshua Bennett, COO of HeroForge, a company that allows you to make custom minis that are 3D printed for you or downloaded for home 3D printing.
I'm just really excited about what 3D printing is doing for the hobby, and I'm excited to see the hobby improving and reaching new people all over the place. It's just exciting to be working in that space.
They're well known to home 3D printers because about 1 year ago, they started to sell the digital models as well. This expansion to selling digital models has gone really well for them, and they've gained popularity within the home 3D printing space.
You know, machines that cost $300, $400 can now turn off like good minis and beautiful prints, and that's really exciting. So we've seen that cross-section of our business just improving as time goes on.
It makes sense that a company like HeroForge, which also sells models to the home 3D printing audience, would feel that 3D printing is overall going to be positive. But for many startups in this space, there are often hidden risks that come with home 3D printing becoming more affordable and more accessible. Meet Kit, founder of Game Envy Creations and creator of The Hobby Holder. Kit's booth was really popular, and I instantly recognized that 3D printed exterior finish that some of the designs on his table had.
I 3D print because I can design something in the morning and have a prototype in the afternoon or a couple hours later. I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree. I make things, I'm a maker, and it really lets me express that in my house.
He makes and sells a variety of wood, ABS, and 3D printed mini holders for miniature painting. Kit refined the old pill bottle that miniature painters have been using forever, and the final design became the Hobby Holder. which was successfully kickstarted by over 2,600 backers in November 2017. I've seen painting handles like this online before though, so I asked him about it.
I started designing this probably 3 years ago is when I made my first, it was a wine cork and a soda bottle cap. I worked on it. I worked with my painters, and we developed this concept with the bottle cap. And 2 weeks into our Kickstarter, there were 3 or 4 on like Thingiverse that were copying it with like exact logo placement and stuff. So we have definitely run into that issue.
The subject of whether files and designs are simply inspired by or blatant copies is a divisive one in the tabletop community, especially when talking about miniatures in particular. So I asked him the next logical question. Would you ever consider selling STL files, digital files, for people to 3D print their own hobby holders?
So the hobby holder is patent pending. Okay. So that we can't do it for that. If we did other products, maybe like terrain and that kind of stuff, we would think about that.
Chris from WizKids had a similar response when I asked him the same thing.
I mean, at this point, probably not. I haven't heard anything along that ways. I know that we're trying to look into actually doing that ourselves in terms like, making the prototypes through the printer, because we haven't done anything yet with the minis. We wouldn't even have them. But as far as releasing stuff at this point, I can't say yes or no, but right now it doesn't look like it. So, very fair. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And after hearing a story like Kit's, I can't say I blame them for being so hesitant to share their files right now. But the home 3D printing community isn't completely out of luck. Even though WizKids, who make official Wizards of the Coast D&D miniatures, aren't planning on selling the miniature files anytime soon, Wizards has made it clear that they're okay with fan art of their IP as long as it isn't being sold for profit. Enter one of the most prolific fan modelers in the 3D printing community, Miguel Zavala, also known as MZ4250. Miguel's made hundreds of D&D monsters over the past 4 years and has released all of them for free, no strings attached. He's become a mini celebrity among the circles of D&D players who also 3D print, and it isn't uncommon to see his prints in the wild on the internet.
I mean, I've gotten a lot of different things from people saying like I've changed the gaming industry and like I've changed my life, and I'm like, really? I'm just doing this for fun. But vast majority of people just really are thankful that I've made the files free. And, I'm just there to help with whatever I can with the gaming community. So it's been really nice.
Modelers like Miguel are creating their own ripples in the tabletop gaming world by having an open source mindset that puts community before profit. Even though he shares his models for free, I asked Miguel if he felt he was competing with companies like WizKids, who also make official D&D monsters.
It's all part of their IP. They can do whatever they want. In the end, I make these because I'm just doing it for fun. I love D&D, and I love the convenience of having the model that I want ready to go for my game. And if they make the same stuff that I make, great. I'm not competing. I'm not here to create sorcerers of the sea, of the coast or something, like make an alternate thing. Like, no, I am not here to compete. I'm not in it for the buck. I'm in it for the art and for just helping other players that are lucky enough to be in the same situation I am, where they have a 3D printer and they want to make their own stuff.
In reality, most companies using 3D printing are using it to get a competitive advantage of some sort, especially smaller studios trying to break in the tabletop games industry. For these smaller companies, 3D printing is often more than nice to have. It's often essential in this industry where sexy marketing and resin miniatures are often expected for many new board games. I met Micah on the floor here. He was demoing his board game, Red Tides. When I spotted the blue inserts and the HeroForge minis, I knew I was speaking with a fellow 3D printer.
So 3D printing was this just almost a magical opportunity. I still can't believe it does what it does and its capabilities, but literally the morning I was supposed to catch my flight, I'd printed these. It was like a 7-hour print, and so I run in and I pop them off the bed and I'm on the plane because they feel nice. With such a dice-heavy game, I want to have a way to manage all that. So
Mike has been making his game little by little over the past 3 years and just recently got a 3D printer, constantly looking to improve the game. Micah recently decided to try adding a little more pizzazz to help Red Tides before the planned Kickstarter launch next year.
We're at a state that we're very happy with almost everything, and so I feel like you need that little gap when you take it to market or you take it to Kickstarter where the community matters. So what do you guys think? Like, would it be cool if, and then they can shoot feedback and they're like, oh, I really love the design of this, or maybe it could be tweaked like that, and we take that seriously. So that's fun for me. Like, it's almost like an artist or a writer's prompt. It's like, yeah.
Now, customization isn't just for board games or players though. It can also be a tool to provide products to niche audiences that might not be feasible to make through traditional methods due to cost or other barriers of entry. Jason Azevedo is one of the nicest Canadians you'll ever meet. He's also the owner of RealmSmith, a company and brand that seems to do a little bit of everything.
We do live sessions every Mondays at 7:30. Do tutorials on our channels at realmsmith.tv. You can get all the socials on there. Monthly subscription crates. Dwarven Forge tutorials coming in December.
See? Everything. One of the unique things they offer is a monthly crate for D&D DMs. For last month's crate, they commissioned a digital sculpt of a monster from Cobalt Press, the Zombie Lord.
First time we did it was for our October crate. It was for Cobalt Press. We featured their creature codex, a Zombie Lord creature from their creature codex, and we had it 3D printed for everybody, which is really cool. Exclusive mini, can't get it anywhere else, so it just ups the kind of the value of the crate.
We both love printed and non-printed miniatures, so I was interested to hear if he thought 3D printed minis were threatening companies like WizKids, who he often partners with.
I think it challenges the manufacturers to think and evolve, and to grow, and just be a bit more creative. They've always been creative. I love WizKids. And in other cases, it's making creativity accessibility to the everyman, right? And I think that's a huge thing. I think the biggest barrier to entry for somebody who's 3D printing is the fact that you need a model in order to do it. And there's a lot of technicalities and fidgeting and all that kind of stuff that you got to figure out. And somebody who's, as you've mentioned before, somebody who's not technically sound or technically talented, I guess, or inclined, will have a tougher time with it.
At the end of the day, I think Jason's point is a really good one. WizKids and companies like Games Workshop are still thriving and have some of the biggest booths here at PAX, even though 3D printers have become significantly cheaper and more accessible than ever before. And there were still only 2 companies at PAX that were directly involved with 3D printing their main product. One's HeroForge, who you already met, and the other's Minuteman Miniatures from Kinnelon, New Jersey. Mike started Minuteman earlier this year and started like most startups, with the bare essentials and an idea.
We started with a single scanner that we had built ourselves, our home desktop computer, and a single printer, Form 2. And from there, it just grew naturally.
I wasn't sure how many folks would want a mini with their face on it, but I never saw his booth empty, and I was in the same room throughout the entire con. So Mike talked to me about the incredible response he's received so far.
We started off thinking we'll have a few dozen customers, and we had a few hundred. So we scaled up to accommodate a few hundred, and then we got a few thousand. So it's just been this natural growth.
Now, I'd never seen scanning tech being used like this in action. I'd only seen it in videos. And seeing the sample prints and the resolution of the scans, I immediately understood. It clicked for me. This is a great example of the ways our community is going to continue to push 3D printing to explore new ideas and new methods of connecting with what gamers want, which is more customization. And that seemed to be the uniting thread throughout this entire time. I came to PAX expecting to hear more about the negative impact of 3D printing, which was certainly brought up, but I usually heard the opposite. I heard about a community positive, nuanced view of 3D printing in our increasingly digital world. And whether it was walking the floor seeing board games with fully printed pieces or talking 3D printing troubleshooting over a RealmSmith painting session, this is really tech that's already a part of our hobby. It's here. And while the exact future it's going to have on tabletop gaming is uncertain, it's time for the community and for companies to embrace 3D printing, to see it for what it is. A vehicle on that same road to take gamers to a better, more engaged gaming experience. This is 3D Printed Tabletop. Thanks for watching. Happy printing and happy gaming. I want to take a moment to say thanks to my friend Chris, who runs the YouTube channel Grouse. He was my wingman throughout all of PAX, and this video wouldn't have been possible without him. He filmed all of it, and he is a trooper. I really appreciate his help in making this happen and tell this story to you guys. Thanks, Chris. You're the man.